So I'm working on the van, the burnt van, and making good progress. And I'll show you guys what I'm doing for the ceiling. It's pretty cool. Okay, so let me show you. Alright, so for the ceiling, we put in this dome light, which is looking really nice. You see I got like I used a book, like a hardcover book cover, to cut out this shape, which I was able to bolt to the ceiling, and then I was able to bolt this to this with a bolt I sent through and then a nut I screwed in underneath here. So it's mounted real stable. And then for the ceiling here, you can see I've got these ceiling panels. They're the perfect thickness, but they're polyethylene. And I sprayed this with Super 77, then I stuck it to the ceiling and it came down. You can see all of them came down. And so in order to address that, I siliconed with 100% clear silicone on this 1000 denier nylon fabric. I just did that along the whole entire ceiling. And now I'm doing a mechanical connection to that with thread. So I'm just bringing the thread up. Here's the bottom side. You can see 2 pieces of thread we leave, so you just bring it up and through, and then you go in through here and then back down. And I'm able to do that just by doing a curved suturing needle like this. You just poke it through the bottom and then you pull it through, and then you're able to just pick a spot that lines up with where it came up, and you can just go like that. Let's see. See how I just caught a little bit of fabric? And then you can just pull it through and then just come back through. This way when I push it up, I can then tie them all off in like a grid pattern, like one every couple inches. I can tie them all off, and that will just pin everything mechanically to the ceiling. Because glues don't tend to stick to polyethylene very well. And Super 77 is one glue that's specifically recommended for it, and even that did not work. It couldn't hold the weight of this thing just hanging from it. Also, you can see I'm using stuffed gap filler to actually form the molding around the top. You can see where some of the old molding still was, but the fire ended right here. You can see the cut that was made. And so I'm just trying to like follow that as guidance on forming the rest of it. So this was all salvaged from the fire too. You can see that just to pin this, I used zip ties to come up and through and attach to metal. I just came through with zip ties, and that held up this whole panel that was the original fiberglass panel. So you can see everything was originally built on urethane molded urethane, and then fiberglass onto the urethane. And since everything burnt up, I have to like remake all that happen somehow. So this is how I'm doing it. I'm just using these panels and then making like the sloping part that comes toward the windshield with this gap filler, and then I can sand that all down, and then I'll ultimately be going over all of this, which just forms the overall shape, with a headliner that I bought. It's like a pseudo leather headliner, I believe it's called. It's made of vinyl, and so I'll be gluing that to this. But to glue even that to this, I'm concerned about that, so I'm probably going to end up using 3M adhesive transfer tape, which is low surface density or low surface energy LSE tape that is good for plastics. It can stick to anything pretty good. So I'll probably use that to tape cloth to the outside of this, and then I'll use silicone to glue the headliner to the cloth that's been taped to here. So that will be how I make it to the final headliner, using silicone as my final glue. So that's the plan. You can see The dash is coming along nice. The back is still in progress. I put in a new headlight back there. A new dome light, I mean. This is a new dome light. I got another one in the back. I did all the wiring neatly. I had to like redesign the wiring, and I didn't even show that. I had to install a relay and everything. So it was a lot of fancy electrical work to get it all working again. But I got it all working. And so yeah, that's where we're at. It's coming along good. And that's all I have for this update. Just chipping away little by little. Actually, I'll show you guys one other thing. Okay, I managed to get this door panel all put back on. It's a new door panel, but I bought it used. And I put in new buttons here. And I had to actually make this plastic cutout because for some reason it did not come with that. Or the one it came with did not fit in here right. So you can see I actually carved this out of just a scrap piece of the old plastic panel that was all burnt up. I actually cut it by hand. And I'll have to like perfect this with like silicone and shape it and everything, make it look perfect. But it looks okay. And I'm gonna end up painting this whole door black. And the steering wheel, I just added some white silicone to build out this crack a little better because I wanted a little bit of a tighter crack here to match this side. The fire had like moved some of the airbag out this way, and there was just like a thick part of the crack that was like that thick. It looked terrible. So now it's a nice tight crack, and then I can paint this all black. And you can see like I still didn't do the texture pass. This is the original steering wheel texture, and then this is like patching material as well as here, and you can see it doesn't have that correct texture like that does. So I need to do a texture pass and everything. Same here. You can see the original and then no texture here. So texture pass and then color pass, and then we'll use the black turtle wax for the final gloss sheen. So we still got a lot to go there. And then same here, we're still doing passes on this this panel. The most recent pass was adding in these treads with white silicone because it's a good material, in my opinion, to do it. Paintable silicone you need though. So I actually did these by hand, just by eye, and it looks like the rest of them. I just had to like kind of visualize what it would look like if the fire didn't burn it away. So it's all like all this is all by hand. Like remember, the fire had burned it all the way up to like here. So all of this, like from here onward, is all by hand and by eye. Everything from here this way is all by eye. Just using stuff gap filler, which you can still see back in here, and then using like homemade acrylic / vinyl compounds that I mixed myself in my own textile mediums and stuff to like alter it and whatnot. I even experimented a lot. I would mix like acrylic artist paint with sand and then do passes, and then I also mixed acrylic artist paint with flour and did some passes. And I like the flour the best. It thickens it, and so it acts more like drywall mud. You can set the consistency you want that way. So yeah, it's coming along good. Also, when I use flat black acrylic, I added in some Mod Podge, I think it's called, or Mod Podge, which is like a gloss thing. I added in the glossy Mod Podge to the flat acrylic, and then it made it become gloss acrylic. So I was able to convert flat to gloss. I bought the flat acrylic because it was super cheap on eBay, but I've since then bought some gloss acrylics. I'll be able to skip that step. But just learning how to make your own paints and compounds and stuff is pretty useful for this type of work, like repairing fire damage. You can see here, after I like cleaned the chair really good of all the old burnt stuff and whatever, then I like built up the plastic, like built up the foam using my own foam and Super 77 spray paint. Okay, editor's note correction. I use Super 77 spray glue, not spray paint, to spray on. You spray it on the foam, and then you spray it on the piece you want to stick to that foam, and then you attach the new foam.
So I was attaching polyethylene floor underlay, which you can buy in rolls for super cheap. It's normally used underneath flooring for like doing a wooden floor in a living room or whatever. It's a foam underlay, so it's very thin, maybe like 3 millimeters thickness or 4 millimeters, something like that. And you just use pieces cut out to shape whatever shape you want. You spray it on, and you just stick it on, and you can just sculpt with it. You just add more and more until you like the shape, and you correct the shape. So I was able to correct all the burnt up seating and bring it to a like new shape.
And then just to like hold it all together real firm, I used, this is compression shirts for workouts with adhesive transfer tape to make like big panels to stick on. And I did that everywhere. This panel is starting to come off because my my 2-year-old had fun like picking at it, and she actually started tearing these off. So I'm gonna have to redo a couple of these, but for the most part, it's just kind of keeping all the smell in of this burnt stuff. I don't think it's giving off much smell anymore. It's had like 2 years to air out, so it's not giving off that much smell. But I still think it's good just to like lock it away because it can still flake a little bit. We're just locking it away everywhere before we put on the new vinyl seat covers. So it's going to be all reupholstered, but we still want the foam itself, even when the upholstery is redone in the future or whatever, we still want the original foam like covered up and all the smell, if there is any more smell left, locked in, and nothing like chipping or whatever, nothing flaking off. You can see like stuff tends to get dirty while I'm working on this stuff. And what more can I report? You can see this kind of cool angle of some of the gap filler work I'm doing to try to rebuild out like the original shape of the ceiling. This will be like this, and you can see the string coming down that has to be tied off, which is going to pin this plastic or this foam up to the ceiling. You can see since the foam sagged, it caused this stuff to sag too. So there's a gap. I have to fill the gap filler with gap filler again, because this glue failed. This Super 77 glue failed. All these panels were up nice and tight. Everything looked great, and then all of a sudden, it slowly started coming down overnight. So I was frustrated with that. This Super 77 failed me. So now this I'm going to be replacing. I actually bought a replacement here, so I'll be able to put that on. And that'll look brand new. So if I can just get this all looking perfectly textured, perfectly sanded, and then perfectly painted, it'll look really good, and then I'll have brand new buttons here. Because that looks unsavable to me. I mean, maybe I could sand it, but how do you put on like the new like the white like lettering and stuff, you know? Like how do you put on the res, and like I would have to like learn how to do really good fine screen printing to do that, and I don't really want to get into that if I can avoid it, because that's like, I mean, to make screen printing that small and perfect would be super hard, I feel like. Even though it is possible, but I'd rather not go into that. And I feel like the van's getting close to being done anyways. We've gotten so much stuff done. So yeah, that's the update.